the frame, sister.
It's red.
There we go. Yes, it's red. Kind of like your hair.
Right?
Right.
All right. Klimt, Scribbles and Doodles, take 4. Action.
You have no idea how long it took us to get to this point.
4 long takes.
Yeah, and normally we in fact, this is the universe spiting us. Yesterday, remember last night we talked about how efficient we've gotten?
Yes.
And then not so much. So we're really excited. It's always fun when Elizabeth develops a new release of stencils. And this one is called, oddly enough, Klimt Scribbles and Doodles. These are all hand-drawn. And I'm not going to show you every single one because I'm going to show you every single one in the video. But I have indexed them all, swatched them, call them what you will, so that you can see what each of them looks like. And then Elizabeth is going to walk you through a process that she had to do 4 times to get it right. But the best part is all of the things, never putting aside the flubs, because it just, sometimes it happens. The steps that she's going to show you, where she started with the first design and how she developed the idea to open those big spaces up a little bit and add some other color. That, I think, is one of the most important things about this. And really, that's testimony to your willingness to stand there and make you're way better at this than me. Make print after print after print. And really, sometimes that's what it takes. But the good news is she's going to show you how to do it, which is even better.
Yeah, it evolved. Like anything you figure out, you just kind of keep playing with it. For me, anyway, on the gel plate. So the last print was the best one, and it was actually good. The second to last one, the penultimate one, stuck to the plate because because despite the fact that it made me angry, it made me make another one, which was actually better.
Yeah, so it worked out, you know, and you have all these prints that you're going to tear up into tiny little pieces to paint with.
Yes, I'm going to use them all in my artwork. So that's the bounty at the end of this time together.
That's right.
So anyway.
Do you want to show them some of these quick?
Oh, sure. So I've got, this is the last one that I made with the spirals and the beautiful blues. And then this was the one that I started with. And you can see the difference in complexity.
Yeah, all the busy spaces in the openings really moves from very little to
kind of
a whole lot more. And honestly, you can choose to do whichever of these you want. You're not relegated to one or the other. If you like less busyness, then just do it so it looks like this.
Sure. And I'm going to give you a tip for color choices.
Yes.
So that it works out and so that you don't get frustrated.
We don't want
or
that.
So that you're less frustrated.
Yeah, there is that. Shall we go?
Yeah, let's go show them how to do it.
All right. One of the things I always like to do when we have a new release of stencils is to swatch them, image them, whatever you want to call them. I think it helps really visualize what you're going to get when you spray something through it. And I just think that it makes them look fun. And even more fun is the fact that I used Tim's mica stains. And so this is sparkly stuff. There's nothing not to like. So this first one is named Klimt Circle of Life. And remember that these are all hand-drawn by Elizabeth. This one is named Klimt Doodle. And then we have Klimt Dream Spiral. Pretty shimmery stuff. You gotta love it. And then I know there's another one under here. I can feel it. I just can't separate it. This one is named, I should have put Klimt in there and I didn't. This one is named Klimt Dream Spiral 2. And then we have Klimt Pinwheels. I think of all of them, I think this is my favorite. Again, with the Fibonacci thing. This one is named Klimt Scribbles. More shimmer. This one is Klimt Serpentine, and it's funny, a few minutes ago you said, oh, this looks like water, and I actually chose that color randomly, not even thinking, but it really does work.
It really does look like water, like bubbles.
Yep. And then this is named Klimt Spiral Doodle. And then this is Klimt Trellis. This one has got some nice big openings that you can do some fun things in. And then the final one is named Klimt Web. So 10 new designs in the Klimt Scribbles and Doodles line. So now that Barb has so completely and generously given us all the names of all these stencils in this new Klimt collection, I do not have to name them while I'm going through them, which is a big relief. Okay, so
The effect that I'm going to show you, I figured out by messing around, which is how I figure out mostly everything that I do on the gel plate. And I started with this print, and I really like the way the pink is showing through the blue. I got a little bit of color modeling in my large open areas, but I was looking for a little bit more visual interest in these large open areas. But I really like the two-tone of the background here. So in the next print, I used the 1.5 inch brayer to apply the blue gray and the white and the lighter gray in small amounts. So I had more color modeling in those large openings. So it's a little bit more interesting. Then I did this one with pink and magenta and purple and ultramarine blue. And the success of this print, I think, is some of this artifacting of this green/teal color that got picked up from a previous print. So that I could never accomplish again. Most of this I could never accomplish again, but definitely not the serendipitous color transfer. So this one that I made, I was really happy with the way the brown base layer contrasts with the multicolor modeling in the negative spaces of that mask. And then this one was the color combination that we were both, Barb and I, really excited by, with the teal turquoise and the ultramarine blue and the brown base layer. So I thought I would bring in a little bit more modeling in the large open areas by adding also to the mix this blue gray. So what we've got then on the base is burnt umber. In the middle modeled area, we have teal, turquoise, and blue gray. And then to pull the print at the end, we have ultramarine blue. So the base layer and the pull layer need to be darker than the middle colors, and the middle colors need to be opaque. That's very important. So darker on the beginning and the end, and opaque in the middle. Whether you use 1, 2, or 3 colors to do your modeling, they all need to be opaque and they need to be lighter than these, okay? That's what is going to make it work. Every time you do it, it's going to be different, but that's what's going to make it work. So we're working on our Yasutomo sketch rice paper, our 9x12 gel plate, and we're using 9x12 stencils. So here's a fun spirally stencil pattern, and I'm going to use this one for the demo. I'm going to start by brayering out the burnt umber, and I'm gonna go a little bit more generous with the paint than I typically do, because some of it's gonna stick to the back of the stencil in this process, and I want as much of it to be left on the plate as possible. But the sticking to the back of the stencil also opens up an area for another color to come through, so that's not a bad thing. Okay, so I spread that out generously. I'm putting the stencil into the paint. And then I'm just going to use a scrap paper to take out the paint from the negative spaces so that all I am left with is the paint that's trapped under the stencil. So I'm using tissue, wet strength tissue, because I hate to throw away any paint. So I will use this to create something else, more layers on it, to create something else that I can use. Okay, and I think we got most of it out of there. I think there's still a little in there, so I've got another, here's a rice paper cleanup sheet. So the idea is to look at the plate and see the open areas are pretty clean of the brown. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you want to take out a decent amount of the brown because that's giving you a window for the next color that we add in. Okay, so we're working with the 1.5 inch brayer, and we're working on our nonstick craft mat. So I'm just gonna disperse the paint out here to put the brayer in so I can apply it over the stencil. So right now that burnt umber is under the stencil. We've removed the color out of the open spaces with a scratch paper. And now I'm just gonna put the blue gray on my brayer, and I'm gonna apply it randomly in kind of a decent, heavy coverage. Make sure it gets down in between the stencil, and it's opaque, so we want it to be blocking the next color. So we got to apply it pretty well, and we want to leave spaces to bring in the teal. Then I'm going to bring in the teal, and when I add the teal, I'm going to do the same thing, but I also want to leave spaces of nothing so that my last layer of color has a place to show through. So the idea is not to go overboard with this and leave no open spaces. Okay, so that's it. I need to leave open space. So I'm gonna roll my brayer off onto a clean piece of paper off camera to make sure that's clean. And I'm going to now remove the stencil and see what I think about the coverage underneath there. And if for some reason you think you need more, you just put the stencil down and do it again, but I'm happy with that. And remember, I have these open areas because my last layer is gonna be this ultramarine blue, and that's where it's gonna show up. We gotta leave a space for it to show up. So at this point, we need to dry it. I'm gonna use the heat tool. But you can, of course, walk away from it, let it sit, go get a cup of tea, check your email. But if you're impatient like me, this is a great tool, the heat tool. And we don't need to get it bone dry. We just need to get it dry enough that it's not going to move too much when we put that ultramarine blue layer on it at the end. And I say too much because if it smears a little bit, that's okay. We just don't want it to smear all over the place, but a little bit of imperfection is always something to embrace. So I'm just gonna try to get it to set up here, especially in some of these thicker areas. And no, the heat from this tool does not bother your gel plate. We've been using it all day. We've used it many times before because we're both very impatient. Okay, so now I'm gonna take that 6-inch brayer and we wanna make sure we use a clean one. That's clean, not the one with the Van Dyke brown in it. And we're gonna put the ultramarine blue on top. And the key is to do this with a very light touch. I'm not pressing down on the brayer at all. I'm just spreading out the paint. So no pressure, just rolling. And you have to get coverage everywhere because this is what's going to release those dry layers of paint. This layer of ultramarine blue is going to cause the plate to release everything else. And I think I need a little bit more. Okay. So then we're going to take the sketch rice paper on the smooth side. We're going to put the smooth side into the paint and apply good pressure with the Baron. We're going out to the corners. I like this tool because it allows me to hang over the edge and make sure I get good pressure all the way out. That way you get a full print all the way to the edges. And then at this point, you have to be a little patient because we have to wait for that paint to dry onto the paper to a certain amount so that we can pull it all off the plate. So this is where we can check our email. And you can pull up a corner and test it. And if you see that it's not pulling off all the paint, you can put it back down. See, there's a little bit paint left there, but it's not too much. Sometimes it pulls every single bit of color off the plate and sometimes it doesn't. It's rather unpredictable. So that's lifting up pretty well, but there's more. Okay, let's see what we get. Oh, that's looking good. Look at that color combo, huh? Whoops. Okay, so that's sticking a little bit, so I'm gonna come in the other direction with the paper. And that's what I like about this rice paper as well. It's thick and sturdy. So it's not gonna tear when you're pulling the print. All right.
So pretty.
So pretty. And for that one little spot, I'm just gonna put my finger in the teal here.
And no nobody knows.
And nobody knows. And I'll put a little gray blue right there. And a little touch up there. So there you have it. I love this technique. I love the way that the colors are coming through multiple. It's a little different than full layered color with that small brayer applying it in kind of a modeled fashion. It's a lot of fun.
Is this thing on?
It is now.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks for indulging us with your attention for this new set of stencils and masks that we're super excited about.
Absolutely.
And you know, the Klimt theme is always a winner. So
well, he's your favorite, understandably, and all of those curvy organic spirals that are just so him. So what's not to like?
right, everybody likes the organic shapes,
Yeah.
and they're great for gel printing. So
Yeah.
all right, well,
done.
I guess we're done. That's a wrap. It's the end of another week of videos. We'll see you back here next time.
Yeah.
And
right.
all for now.
Bye.
Bye.